Hi, everybody. It's Joe Cioffi, Fios 1 News, Long Island, and Fios 1 News, New Jersey.
Joe Rayo, Fios 1 News, Lower Hudson Valley on a Monday night, Joe. And what more can I say except it is sticky and ugly out there.
Quite a sloppy weekend.
Yes.
Trying to remember, what was Saturday like?
Saturday was decent. Saturday, I know that because I was able to mow my lawn on Saturday, and we didn't get any rain until the after sunset hours.
I'm having a tough time remembering
up my way, we had a fair amount of sunshine. And actually, it was also not overly humid on Saturday. We had a very comfortable kind of day on Saturday. But Sunday and today, forget about it. It was just
well, we had downpours last night. They came in. I actually had...
Actually, it was the pre-nor'easter.
That's right. Yes, thank you. Now you reminded me. That's right. Yes, we had... Actually, yeah, the first part of Saturday, on Long Island at least, where I was, up until early afternoon, was bright and sunny, and then it just went overcast after that, and then rain started coming in during late in the evening. And we wound up with about an inch or so of rain. There were parts of Central and South Jersey along the coast, in particular, Monmouth County, Ocean County. Some places got 2 to 3 inches. There were wind gusts to 50, almost to 60 miles an hour there. Didn't quite measure up from that standpoint. I think the fact that low tracked further to the west. We started out last week with looking at it maybe just kind of hugging the coast. Or just offshore, and then it wound up the western edge of the rain initially was right on the New Jersey-Pennsylvania border, and it wound up going almost all the way back, 2/3 of the way across Pennsylvania.
It was not really a classic nor'easter, though, as you just mentioned. It did go inland. I saw a lot of news outlets making reference to it being a nor'easter, but it was not a nor'easter.
If anything, it was a sou'easter.
Yeah.
But yesterday was a perfect example of that southerly. It's actually a south-southeast flow aloft, and we've got some waves of downpours came in for me early in the evening after the sun broke out yesterday afternoon, and got a nice rainbow as I was driving into one of those downpours yesterday evening. And now today, at least for Long Island, there were some showers around this morning, but much of the day really didn't do much of anything.
Well, a mutual friend of ours, Pete Bergman, who is also a meteorologist and lives out in East Patchogue, he's retired now. 3 o'clock this afternoon, he said there wasn't a cloud in the sky where he was. And
that tends to happen on Long Island in patterns like this, where you start out the day very cloudy, and then by 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you see on the radar all the downpours are basically north, just inland, and it goes mostly sunny for a couple of hours.
Tropical sky.
Yeah, very much so. Deep blue sky, a gusty wind. But now we're moving forward, and obviously you folks have all been complaining about the humidity, as Joe and I have also been complaining. Oh, Addison is on.
Mr. Green.
You know what? Let's see if I can. If he's not too busy, our Addison, I'm going to try and see if I can get him up on on Skype here, so we can have a little meteorological gab fest. All right. So while we're
get my glasses so I can actually see.
Addison, I hope you're listening to all this. Let's see if this works. No. Have to try it again. Hang on a second.
While you're doing that, it's interesting. Just to get our viewers here into this, I am not a fan of the eye. Oh, is that him?
That is him.
That is him.
How's it going?
Oh, Addison, you are with us. It's so exciting.
I am here and no laundry being done.
All right, now turn your camera horizontal.
Better?
No, you know what I mean. Oh no, you're still coming this way. All right, never mind. Or if you could bring yourself up full screen, or maybe I can bring it up full screen.
Well, it looks like it's full screen on my end.
All right, hang on.
Why is it not automatically once you turn it sideways?
I don't know. Hang on, Addison. Stay with us here.
Such is the technology of the quote smartphone, or the not so smartphone.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa!
All right, now you're so zoomed in, it's ridiculous. There you go. Pull yourself back a little bit more. Now you're in good spots. You know what? We're going to put you up between the both of us. Now, let's see a little bit more of your chin. Bring it down a little bit more. Let's see the half-washed undershirt.
No laundry though this time.
All right. So, how are you dealing with all this humidity?
I'm feeling it. Just walked from the car, breaking a sweat.
It has. Did you run into any downpours on the way home tonight?
No, I mean a couple of sprinkles here and there, but nothing significant.
All right. What I'm thinking tomorrow, and you know what? I'm going to bring you up a little bit. I'll bring you up over here, and I'll make us disappear for a second.
All right.
I'll Brady Bunch us into the corner, because that'll work. And we can look at. We're going to start off. I'll bring up WPC's 7-day rainfall forecast. And I don't know. Can you see this?
I'm pulling it up right now. Trying to get my feed to work. Let's see. Gotta go to your page.
Well, this is all front end loaded in terms of the rainfall and for the next 7 days. But I got to think that most of this is going to be between now and Thursday. There's still some pretty significant amounts of 4 inches plus in a lot of areas from northeastern Virginia through Pennsylvania, northwest New Jersey into the Hudson Valley and Connecticut. You know, a lot of those places out to the west got hit pretty hard with the rainfall over the last couple of days, so they're already under a flood watch. I wouldn't be surprised any one of these downpours could cause some additional flooding in those areas.
No, absolutely. I mean, we already have seen significant flooding going on in like Maryland and portions of central Pennsylvania, so it's only a matter of time before those watches get expanded possibly towards western New Jersey, western sections of the Hudson Valley. I mean, I don't think this is going to be too much of an issue for areas east of the city, like the island. But, yeah, north and west, you could easily see maybe a few more inches out of this before this whole event is done.
When you look at the radar tonight, one of the things that kind of stands out, in my view, and you're going to disappear here for a second, okay? So, you know, don't take it personal. I'm just bringing the map up full screen, but you've got these showers moving, still pretty much moving from south-southwest to north-northeast. But at least for now, most of the downpours tonight seem to have shifted a bit inland.
Yeah, you'll be seeing that axis kind of tilt a little bit further towards the west. As I think like the high pressure offshore, the Bermuda High, kind of like buckles and pushes a little bit further inland. I mean, what do you guys think of in terms of heavy rain areas? Do you think that the entire tri-state area is looking at a risk as we go in towards the rest of the week, or just spots here and there?
I don't, Joe. What do you can address that? He's asking in terms of how much rain over the next day or so. Wednesday to me looks like the day that we could have widespread activity.
Yeah, I still think that that's the case as well. Tomorrow, of course, because of the function of the high offshore, kind of flexing its muscles and strengthening and pushing most of the precipitation to the west. But still, all you need is just one particular cell to pass over your neighborhood, and you could pick up quite a bit of rainfall in a very short interval of time. Case in point, when I was driving into work today, Joe, I ended up going onto the Taconic, and for about 5 minutes, it was pouring about as hard as I've seen it at any time this year or in recent years. It was really coming down. People were actually pulling off to the side of the road. That's how hard it was coming down. But after you drive out from underneath that, it's like nothing had happened.
Yeah.
And all you need is just one of those tomorrow, even though, let's say, in the Hudson Valley, 95% of the Hudson Valley may very well be dry with nothing, but all you need is one renegade cell of precipitation to pass over your neck of the woods, and you could end up with a fairly hefty amount. And we'll see a lot more of that, I think, on Wednesday,
right,
as the front to the west comes in and tries to do its best to.
Well, I have the NAM up for Wednesday. It has a fairly robust area of showers all day.
Yeah.
In terms of its radar presentation. Go ahead, Addison.
No, I was just agreeing with you. Yeah, I see it here. And looking at it, especially going in towards Wednesday night. I mean, looking at a couple of those cells pushing in towards northeast New Jersey, which is definitely no stranger to creek and stream flooding. So there could be some issues right there, like along the Passaic River, for instance, and across portions of, say, Orange County, Rockland County. A lot of those areas could easily see some flooding situation. Like you said before, the ground is just soaked. There's really no place for this moisture to go anymore. So it's only a matter of time before we start to see widespread flooding concerns.
Yeah. I tend to think the ground is saturated enough in most areas that if you do get one good solid downpour over a period of time, that probably will be enough to cause some flash flooding over the next couple of days. Even though we don't have any flash flood watches up here, they are up for an extensive area from central New York all the way down into North Carolina.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You're dealing with so much moisture coming on in from the tropics that, doesn't take much for a lot of these areas that have gotten hit hard before earlier this summer to see more of a concern. I'm just curious if we're going to see what the models have been hinting at, more of a retrograde to the west for tomorrow and then back to the east, or is it going to be kind of where it is right now and then just slowly shift more to the east over time? So some areas may get caught off guard, but we'll see.
You can see on the satellite, by the way, on the visible before the sun sets, the cloud line is not that far offshore. So this is why most of the showers have been inland today. The upper ridge off in the ocean is trying to push it back westward. It's close, and I think for tomorrow it might push it just enough to keep the showers more widely scattered than anything else. But you're still going to have to deal with this huge moisture stream that's coming up from the Gulf of Mexico and from the southeast off the southeast coast and coming straight up.
And any good amount of sunshine tomorrow afternoon certainly could activate the potential of pop-up storms or pop-up showers here and there. So you really, as much as you'd like to say with the high building back west, Joe, you'd like to say, oh, okay, well, it'll be a dry and warm and sunny, albeit humid day. You can't really say that in this type of situation. You have to mention at least the possibility of a few showers and maybe even a pop-up thunderstorm. And again, the catalyst, that front to the west pushing that high back offshore on Wednesday, will loan itself to create even more widespread showery and thundery conditions then.
Addison, you and I were looking at this afternoon. I'm going to bring it up on the radar. There's not really too much left of it at this point, but there were these really fierce thunderstorms late this afternoon in southeast Louisiana. You and I were both watching this, and actually there's still some special marine warnings along the south coast there. There were over 20,000 as of 5:30. I don't know how much happened after that, but there were over 20,000 lightning strikes that were recorded out of these things. This was, and I have the satellite view of them, and you can see how this whole area just generally blows up in the eastern and central Gulf of Mexico. They just bombed them over there.
Yeah, we were watching that, like you said earlier, and it was more of a, I would say, directionally wise, I would say probably like, 150 degrees, that direction coming in from a southeasterly direction, and it was just retrograding back towards the west, going out towards more of a southerly direction to more of southwest over time. But yeah, it just looked like someone took a fire hose and just pointed it off the shore of Louisiana, and just an amazing system to watch. I believe that's from the front, from the surface alone nearby in Georgia.
Yeah.
Backing up, and
well, the whole trough, that whole trough is getting elongated north south. So yeah. The bottom of it is pushing down into the Gulf of Mexico. I'll bring up the upper air, and you can see it pretty well on this. Here we go. It's coming up there. So I just got to go back a little bit. See, what's happening is there's your trough from the weekend. So you had this almost circular looking, wrapped up cutoff low. And it's from this that we had that low come up the coast. Now that whole trough is stretching like taffy from north to south. And the bottom part of that trough is dropping down into the northeastern Gulf of Mexico. Eventually, as we move into Wednesday, that's going to get kicked out to the northeast. So that's why, Mr. Joe, we're going to have probably more widespread activity on Wednesday because the bottom of that weakening trough is going to lift up to the northeast
Right.
in response to that next system that's dropping down into the western Great Lakes.
A kicker.
Essentially.
Yeah.
And here's the rainfall, at least from in the world that the NAM the world that the NAM paints. Two distinct streaks of 2 to 3 inches of rain covering much of the Mid-Atlantic and up to the Northeast, and those darker purples in eastern North Carolina and parts of central Pennsylvania, east central. I don't know where that streak is. That eastern PA, well, let's say the eastern half of PA.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a strip there of 5 to 6 inches plus on top of what's already fallen.
That's incredible right there, just to see that much moisture coming on in. This is something that we don't typically see outside of like the fall and spring months.
What do you see in the long term?
Long term, I was just taking a look at one of the other models, looking at like GFS, for instance. Yeah,
I'll bring it up. Hang on one second. We can bring up the upper air on the GFS, and I'll go a little wider. We'll take the North America view so you can see it all. So here is, let me just make it a little bit bigger. So if we go back, all right, so we could start it off. You got that upper low. It stretches out. It kicks out to the northeast. Then it looks like another trough wants to drop in, but it doesn't quite make it. And then there's yet another one as we go into early next week.
Yeah, these guys just don't seem to get the chance to move. They just cut off and just want to, become stagnant. Kind of a little unusual. I would wonder if this has, been something you guys have seen before or not, during this time of the year, like this type of pattern.
Well, this kind of pattern, a lot of times, I think Joe would go along with me on this. These types of things in the summertime tend to be long duration. Everything in the upper atmosphere is kind of in slow motion at this point. And without some kind of big, obvious kicker in there, you're going to have this thing just sit and sit and sit. So, and the trough wants to be in the east. I don't think there's any argument there.
No, there's no argument. At this time of the year, this is a pattern that could unfortunately, if you don't like it, could linger right on into the middle part of August. But eventually, there will be a change, and it might come mid or late August, where all of a sudden we see. Remember also that now as the days are slowly but surely shortening, and areas up over the northern regions, up toward the pole, you'll have this gradual buildup of cooler air, which eventually is just going to drain southward. And after maybe a few weeks, maybe by mid and late August, we'll see a break to all of this. Until then, though, I think we're just going to have to sit back and grin and bear it, because it doesn't look like this big subtropical high offshore is going to be breaking down anytime soon. It looks like it's going to be fairly much in control as we make the transition, believe it or not, next week from July into August. Where the heck is this summer going?
Yeah, that was a good question. A lot of people are asking, wondering what kind of pattern are we going to be anticipating to come into the picture going in towards August. I remember from years past, you would typically get like a big ridge building up across the nation's heartland, and we would be, on the downward sloping portion of that ridge, and we would get kind of round thunderstorms every couple of days or so. But with that ridge all the way out towards the west, they're baking over there in places like the desert Southwest and western Texas, and we have that ridge dropping all the way down to the southeast, just allowing all this moisture to come on in. I can't remember, not too long ago seeing something like this. Usually it's just been a couple of days of thunderstorm here or there, and then just hot.
Well, I'm just going to put in my 99 cents worth here. It used to be 2 cents, but inflation has taken over.
Yes.
But I actually am a little bit concerned. This year, the trough wants to be in the east. It's been like this since June, and I think Joe's right. At some point, it will change, but we don't know that magic moment. Is it now? Is it at the end of the month? Is it the end of next month? Is it sometime in September? That we don't know. But the trough wants to be in the east. I think, judging from the fact that Hurricane Chris there's a standard line of thinking that watching how the first couple of storms, or particularly how the first storm tracks, can be a clue to how the season is going. And my concern is that you've got this trough that wants to be in the east. You have a situation like we have now with this straight southerly flow. If those two things combine at the wrong time, you're going to have a problem. Now, so far, the tropics have been quiet. There's nothing out there, and there's nothing in what's going on in the tropical Atlantic that's really changed since last week. You've got upper lows running around all over the place. You've got dust, okay, running around as well. The Saharan dust, that's still in play. But
yep.
My concern is that as we get into August and get deeper into August, if we've got this trough in the east, at some point something's going to form out there, and if it times out wrong, there's going to be a problem.
Well, it's typical. We've seen a couple of the tropical systems come early, but now we're in this pattern, which we typically do see at the late July and on into the beginning of August, what Neil Frank would refer to as a slack period, so to speak. But you're right, when we get past the midpoint of August especially, that's when we start watching very carefully the tropics, because climatologically speaking, that's when things begin to really start revving up, and they could rev up real quickly, really fast.
Well, we saw that last year.
Yeah, so
I just don't, I don't necessarily believe, last year was such a, was just nuts when you had those Category 5 hurricanes come one after another. And let's not leave Harvey out, which really got the ball rolling. But Harvey didn't pop up until the middle part of August. So it was basically a little less than a month from today. So we're still way too early in the game. But I'm just concerned with that trough in the east. It's going to be problematic if we wind up seeing something form. And Chris. Also, the other thing is, Chris was able to achieve a fairly impressive intensity given the time of year it developed and where it developed. So you wonder, now that we're several weeks deeper, and 3 weeks from now we'll be in the heart of it, with the ocean water being at its max temperature, there could be an issue.
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely unusual to see where Chris formed and how much it intensified during that period of time, jumping from a tropical storm to a Category 2 hurricane. I remember not too long ago, I think it's about maybe, correct me if I'm wrong, 2014, Joaquin, that developed in the western portions of the Atlantic, southwestern portion of the Atlantic, and we had a similar pattern going on like we do across the east, that trough digging down towards the southeast. It just siphoned off that moisture off from Joaquin, and that's where we had all that record flooding in Charleston and central portions of South Carolina. And definitely it's devastations everywhere. So yeah, all it doesn't take is one storm to come up and give you that enhanced boost of tropical moisture. And now you're looking at potential, history and making flooding.
Well, of course, also another thing, if you're not into the let's have a tropical cyclone or a hurricane club, if you're not among those people and are hoping against that type of activity, there's always the El Nino that has been forecast to gradually increase.
Right, but it's still not there yet.
Still not there yet, but I mean, they're still calling for it to increase, and if it does indeed increase in the coming weeks, that may help to suppress any tropical activity, but again, who knows right at this moment in time.
All right, so look, we got to wrap it up. It's way past your bedtime, Addison. You need to get your good night's, your beauty rest, because you have your duties tomorrow, Fios 1 News, at midday on, you're doing, I always forget. You're doing Hudson Valley.
Yeah.
And you're doing Long Island, correct?
Yeah, I'm doing, Brittany's
doing New Jersey. Brittany Boerer's doing New Jersey.
Is she back?
I have to write these things down. I'm almost 60, By the way, just so we're clear, you and I, our hair is relatively short and a bit immune to the perils of humidity. However, I swore that Mr. Rayo got a haircut today, but in fact, he is a victim of what really matters in weather like this, and that's bad hair.
I came out of the shower differently this morning.
That's a new way of putting it.
Tomorrow it'll look completely different again. So my wife doesn't like. Sometimes I blow my hair out. She says you have the poofy look, where it looks like it's like Kramer from Seinfeld. It's like up here. It's
Addison does the same thing. He did it tonight for tonight's show, didn't you, Addison?
Oh yeah.
You've got the poofy look. You're like me, Addison. Minimalism. Okay? Minimalist. It's easy. Just run your fingers through it and you're done. All right, look, you have a great night. Thanks for coming in on such short notice. I'll give you a little more time next time around so you can put on a suit and tie.
Okay.
And we'll see you tomorrow.
We'll all be together tomorrow.
All right, guys. See you tomorrow.
All right, let's just go to. That was our Addison Green for Fios One News, Hudson Valley and Long Island. I'm going to just go back to the board and see if anybody's got. Jimmy Zindel was surprised at how much sun and little rain you had in Passaic County today. Well, you got lucky. Some spots get lucky in patterns like this, and some don't. So you were in a good spot today. Let's see.
David Schwartz made 2 containers of salsa. I don't know if that has anything to do with the weather, but
yeah. Brian Morris, as we discussed with respect to the hurricanes, if this were the main time for hurricane season, would this track be dangerous? Are you referring to the upper air the way it is? Yeah, it would be, because it would draw everything up the east. It would draw something up the east coast.
Well, what did we just see on Saturday?
Yeah.
So then we were even speculating last week whether that thing would have enough time to develop into a kind of tropical.
And you know what? Another thing to pick up on Saturday, Joe, is the fact that it went left.
Right.
Okay, it trended left, and I think we need to remember that in the coming weeks if something does set up.
Wasn't there a rule? Somebody from the national, not the Hurricane Center, but the Weather Prediction Center. He's long since retired. His name is Rosenblum. Rosenblum's rule was that storm systems that are intensifying rapidly always turn to the left.
Yes.
And this could have been a good case of Rosenblum's
Except
rule.
when they don't.
Except when they don't, yeah.
All right, you know what, folks? We got to go. We both have work to do. So thanks for being here tonight. Really, really appreciate it. Raymond, I haven't seen you on in a while. I know the WPC has a moderate risk for your area with heavy rain. Moderate risk for heavy rain. They don't have a moderate risk for severe weather up in upstate New York. I didn't see that.
I didn't see that either.
Unless you're talking about the rain. Hang on. Oh, let me just double check. WPC is always. I'm sorry, SPC is always. They're always updating, so maybe they changed something. I didn't see a moderate risk when I looked earlier.
It's especially confusing when you're checking them in the middle of the night. And the middle of the night is day 1 till 7 o'clock in the morning.
I know, and then it's I don't see a moderate risk here. I think maybe you're referring to the rain. There's no risk tomorrow, and Wednesday.
Well, there's no severe.
There's no severe. There's just a risk for thunderstorms, and maybe they'll wind up adding a slight risk or a marginal slight risk.
As I've been saying,
they're playing catch up.
They're playing catch up, and I'll bet you on Wednesday there will be some place that'll have marginal or severe on Wednesday.
All right, we got to go. Fios One News, Long Island and New Jersey for me.
Fios One News, Lower Hudson Valley for yours truly.
All right, we'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.